Was Chase Sexton's dominant win in New Jersey a signal of more to come?
You did what you need to do. You had a great race. You kicked my butt.
Or will differences in Pittsburgh play in Cooper Webb's favor? Plus, a super close 250 title fight.
Yeah, welcome to SMX Insider. I am Jason Weigandt on the precipice of the two things I don't like in racing, which is first predicting mud races early in the week. Could be some rain in the forecast for Pittsburgh. And predicting the same race results are going to happen every single week in a championship. I didn't think there was any way we were going to get the Sexton-Webb 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 all the way to the end. But Jason Thomas, after that dominance in New Jersey, this looks like it could be in play for Chase Sexton to win out.
Yeah, and the kids would say, Weege, that you're down bad here because we have weather where the forecast is pretty nasty, and we've had some pretty rough weather over the last few weeks, and then we have this mathematical scenario that could come into play, and especially when you factor into how well Chase Sexton's riding right now. With 3 to go and they go 1-2, like you mentioned, we could have a tie that would determine the championship by wins. I don't know. We'd have to ask Clinton Fowler if we've ever had that in the history of the series in any class, but that would be a wild scenario to see in Utah in May.
Yeah, and Sexton would win the tiebreaker if that were to happen, if he had this many wins stacked up. So here's the real question. You predicted, accurately, I might add, that the double whoop sections in New Jersey would heavily favor Sexton, and that's exactly how it played out. So, is Sexton just a better guy right now, and he could win 3 more of these? Or is that just a Jersey had double whoops, and the other tracks won't? Don't read into it.
Well, it's funny. I think perspective plays a role here, because if you ask Chase Sexton, he would say, yeah, look at the track map for this weekend, which we will do later in this episode of Insider, and there's something he's going to really like about that. But if you ask Cooper Webb on the other side of that perspective, he would say, no, each weekend is its own unique dynamic. And just because what we saw in East Rutherford has no bearing on what we will see in Pittsburgh or Denver or Salt Lake. So if you ask me, I think there are subtle clues that can lean into who is going to have an edge over the other. But that doesn't always mean that the winner will be determined by that. I just think some riders have advantages here, some riders have advantages there, and it's going to be something we have to pay attention to over the last 3.
There are no subtle clues for this 250 East Championship. It's too close. It's too up and down. 3 riders still well within range. Now Seth Hammaker, the sole point leader, but I don't think you can make any accurate predictions for where this is going. It's been that tight.
It has been, and this has been such a turn of events because way back in Tampa, when we watched this series kind of unfold, it really felt like Max Anstey had a grip on this thing. Then Levi Kitchen comes, barreling in Detroit, and neither of them are still in this championship, but we still have such a tight title fight with Seth Hammaker, who's never been in a championship contention as a professional, RJ Hampshire, who was 2024 Western Division champ, and Tom Vial, who was the 2024 Eastern Divisional champ. So one of these riders is going to be the 2025 Eastern champ, but your guess is as good as mine at this point about which of the 3 it's going to be.
No rider has enjoyed this Northeastern swing more than Seth Hammaker. Right time, right guy, right year, and he's got another home state race with Pittsburgh on the docket. We will preview that round. We'll also bring in Clinton Fowler, our statistician, with more insight toward this run by Chase Sexton and what a title could mean to Pro Circuit if Hammaker were to pull it off. So let's get going. 30-second board, lots of hot topics in SMX this week, starting with the return to Pittsburgh. There have actually been 2 previous Pittsburgh Supercrosses, 1978 and 1983 at the old Three Rivers Stadium. Bob Hanna and Brock Lover, Hall of Famers and legends, won that. But a lot of those races were dotted with really bad weather. I think they're a lot better at dealing with that this time. So I wouldn't let the old visions mess up this time because you know how I feel. Don't go too crazy on the rain prediction early in the week.
Don't try to spin the weather towards your favor, Weege. I think it's going to be a fantastic event. There is no one attached to this sport that's not excited about Pittsburgh. It's been one that's been asked for so many times, and it's crazy. We haven't been there in so long when there's such a rich motocross heritage in that Northwest Pennsylvania area. So should be good. Rain or shine, show up. It's going to be great.
Yeah, we heard ticket sales were crazy as soon as it was announced, and that newer stadium there and the part of town it's in is awesome if you've never been there, so it should be fun. Next one is more good news, which is the fact that this Pro Motocross Championship coming up in about a month, That opener is going to be all time. You got to speak with Jorge Prado over the weekend. He was hanging out in New Jersey. He's back on the bike. Lawrence Brothers starting to ride. Eli Tomac starting to ride. They should all be there, along with the likes of Webb and Sexton Plessinger at the opener. This is going to be epic.
Listen, we're going back to a full field. And you could argue that we haven't really needed it. It has been fantastic racing. We have this championship fight. But there's no way to ignore the fact that we're missing some of the stars of the sport, and they're all back on the motorcycle now. They're all preparing for what is going to be an epic showdown in Southern California. So I'm trying to keep my eye on the ball, but there's this other thing out there looming in the distance that I'm starting to get really, really excited about.
And the great unknowns. We don't even know what we're going to see from Prado here. He's never raced a pro motocross race in America. Tomac hasn't done many in years. It's going to be wild. And on the other side of the ledger, the future stars of the sport, this is actually the national championship race this Saturday in Pittsburgh. We've had SMX Next in quite a few rounds this year, but those are just individual qualifying rounds. The winner of this race is the champ. Chance Hymas, Casey Cochran, Cole Davies are the three previous champions. I think we know what skills they have, so we'll see who this year's star will be.
Oh yeah, look at that mud, Weech. Look at that mud on a Saturday. That was an afternoon there, evening.
It happens.
So, we'll see. We will see. This argument will continue on forever, probably. But this SMX Next thing is really taken on a life of its own. We're watching stars develop, and you don't have to look far. Just look at the points leaders, especially in the West Coast, to see recent graduates who are immediately a factor in championships. So we're watching that unfold again, whether it's Landon Gordon or whoever your favorite rider is. They're going to take the next step soon, and they're going to be a factor.
In Pittsburghese, they're so much better at handling mud races now than they were in 1983, okay? So that's why I still have the silver lining with the dark clouds. This is what the track's supposed to look like if it's built and it's dry. Here's the Yamaha track map, JT.
Yeah, this one's going to be good. Look how long that start is. And a couple of things there. I think it gives riders room to kind of establish themselves, so maybe we don't get that first turn crash. And I think the guys on the outside can benefit from that. And oh yeah, look at that group section. Now there's what will likely be a triple double or a double triple into the whoops. So very similar to Tampa. So Malcolm Stewart, even Chase Sexton led until he crashed there. But the riders that want to carry momentum in, and Chase Sexton, he's going to have a huge circle drawn around that area of the racetrack. It's a very good setup for those riders that want to blitz whoops, weather permitting.
Okay, so the track, the weather, and the championship fight, there are so many scenarios to determine who will be the best rider this weekend. So let's bring the experts back and figure it all out.
All right, James, let's talk NXT bets, bud. We've got an interesting piece here. The odds makers, James.
They've got Chase Sexton as the favorite to win the event instead of Cooper Webb. That is a difference from the last 2 weeks. Last week heading into East Rutherford, we saw them head-to-head at a 180. The week before that, the advantage was with Cooper Webb. So the odds makers have clearly gone to the favor of Chase Sexton after these last two victories by him. What do you think, James?
Well, last weekend, Chase rode great. I mean, probably one of the best rides of his career and probably one of the easiest looking rides. And if you look at the track layout, I mean, it actually suited him very well. The track got slipperier and slipperier. And if you looked at practice, Cooper was a little bit quicker. And then as that track dried out, they got more lines. Chase kind of found his flow. And Dude just rode away from him. It was definitely a whooping, and you can hear Cooper on the podium. Like, he was like, man, I ain't have nothing for him. So coming in this weekend, it's kind of the unknown. We don't really know how the dirt's going to be. Hopefully the weather is holding up. But yeah, these boys are really going to the championship. You know, it's going down to the finish. And the odds makers, they know what they saw last weekend. They saw a performance that they haven't seen probably ever from Chase. So going into this weekend, they got him as the favor. And man, after what I saw, I got to go with the Chase Sexton as well. Even though I'm leaning towards Cooper Webb having to bounce back, man, Chase rode great. I think it's going to continue this weekend.
Man, James, it really did feel like Chase was just on one of those days in East Rutherford, like one of those days where you see a James Stewart or an Eli Tomac just on their best game. So I'm with you. I think Chase is on a bit of a roll here.
Alrighty, James, let's talk head-to-head. You've done a pretty good job of calling these so far this year, so let's see if you can do it again this week. This week, we got Justin Cooper versus Malcolm Stewart. Right now, these guys are going for 4th and 5th in the championship, and they have swapped the position 4 times in the last 7 rounds. Super close battle between these two. The odds makers have Justin Cooper at a -111. They got Malcolm Stewart at a -120. James, what do you see from these guys?
Well, I think it really comes down for those two, just really start dependent. Even though Malcolm, he got a bad start, he just kind of rode around where he was, and I think that track was really difficult. And we know Justin Cooper, if the guy can get out front and get a start, I mean, he can ride faster than anybody around that racetrack. So I'm just going to say whoever wants 4th in the championship, you got AP coming up as well. But I think between those two, whoever just wants that 4th, it's going to be probably your winner on all this between those two head-to-head. So going into it, I think Malcolm probably will have a bounce-back ride this weekend. I'm sure he wasn't too happy how he rode, and being that Pittsburgh Steelers is my dad's favorite football team, he better show up for Big J. So I'm going to lean towards Malcolm getting an edge this weekend.
Man, James, I thought I was liking your dad, but Steelers fan, that's a bit tough for me as a Patriots fan. But hey, folks, make sure you go to check out your local sports book. The lines will change as the weeks go, and as you guys put the bets in. And James, I'm looking forward to see what unfolds.
Well, as you heard there will be a lot of eyes on Chase Sexton, who is suddenly rolling. And remember, JT, earlier in the year, we had this data that said he wins races early in the year, has a midseason slump, and ends the year on fire. That's exactly what Chase Sexton is doing.
My man has some momentum here. There is no denying that. Chase Sexton is, as they say, looking good to take this thing all the way down to Salt Lake City. Now, the problem here with a 9-point deficit in 3 rounds, he has to be perfect. Unless he's going to get some help from someone else like Aaron Plessinger or Ken Roxon, there is no room for any mistake throughout the last 3. And that has been something that Chase Sexton has had a hard time doing, which is be perfect.
Yeah, because by the way, he has to beat Webb and win the 5 in a row. If there's a 2nd and 3rd place scenario in a race, that will be 1 point less gap between them, and he still would not win the title. So he doesn't just need to beat Webb, he needs to do it while winning. Unless Webb has a disastrous event, which it's racing, anything can happen to either. That's why you can't miss any of this as we go. And I think both of these riders who have been here before, they've both won titles at the highest level. It's kind of interesting to hear that they both, even with the pressure, are happy they're in this position against each other. Let's hear them.
It's great for the fans, right? I mean, it's great for the sport. It's great for us. It makes it fun. It's what it's all about, right? You don't you train your ass off to be in these situations when you sign up at A1, right? To be in a championship fight towards the end. So, yeah, I think for me, I'm leaning on experience and just been in here doing it with some amazing riders, and now it's with Chase. So, it's definitely, I think for the fans, great. If it was me selfishly, I wish I could run away with the thing, but it's not the case. So has been good, and yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna stick to my thing and keep the, we're both hell of competitors, right? So it's fun for everybody.
I think it's fun. Like Coop said, I mean, you train all year to get to yourself this spot, and I mean, I've raced Eli, obviously very closely, and then now Cooper in Supercross, and he's very tough. Like they're two completely opposites, but they have their strengths. So it's for me, it's really fun and it's special. I think for me, it makes me better. Each weekend battling him, very strong-minded. So just trying to have fun with it. Honestly, just trying to stay loose and not get too serious. Obviously, I want to win. That's the goal. But I think in the past, I've gotten just too locked down, and I think for me, just being loose and having fun is the name of the game for me. And when I'm having fun riding, that's kind of how I ride. So I'm having fun with it, and like I said, Coop's a great competitor, and it's been fun so far.
No trash talk there that time.
Yeah, I mean, the respect is pretty obvious between the two, but that doesn't mean they're not going to take shots at each other. And the one thing I think for Cooper Webb, he thrives on the battle. He wants there to be hard feelings. He wants them to be going back and forth because I think he uses that as fuel during the week. I think he gets him fired up. So the more he can create animosity, respect is still there, but animosity, I think, is what really drives him. So I think that's where you see the little shots taken on the podium, those comments. I think he's trying to raise the level of, I want to say, again, it's not disrespect. It's just the competitive nature of Cooper Webb, and that's what he's trying to lean into.
Yeah, and also that brings out the emotions on both sides, right? And he's always historically proven he can control that and channel it the right way. We'll see if Sexton can do it as well. It's just so fun to have it this close with 3 races to go. And some other riders in that mix. Justin Barcia, who somehow doesn't have a podium this year, seems kind of hard to believe. Looked like he might have finally been in position one for what I'm going to say is his actual home state race. He was born in New Jersey, but he couldn't quite finish it.
Yeah, for Justin Barcia, he's trying to get on the podium. And this guy's been around for so long. He understands racing dynamics. And when the door is open, you have to be ready to walk through it. And when I say that, it's the injuries that have really opened the door, right? When you have, just like we talked about earlier in the show, Tomac out, Jet, Hunter, Jason Anderson, you just go down the list. Well, those are podium week in and week out guys. So there is an opportunity there. And Justin Cooper, Justin Barcia, and Aaron Plessinger all know it. And that's why you see them taking big chances trying to land on the podium while there's opportunity there.
Okay, SMX Medical update time. This is a serious one and a sad one. Jerry Robin, one of the top privateers in the game, going down hard in qualifying at New Jersey. We have Dr. Joe McGinley with us. What's some of the news you've heard for Jerry?
Yeah, unfortunate. Jerry's on our team on the privateer support program. I've gotten to know him really well, so this one really does hit home. Really an unfortunate crash. It's one of the risks of the sport, but this one was really hit home. If you look at the crash, there's a couple components of that that led to this injury. First, the height of where he came down from, it's almost a 2-story building is what he fell down from, and he came down vertically. In addition to that, there was forward momentum. He was still moving forward. And then the last component of it, which led to the injury, was the face of the next jump. That's where he ended up hitting. He ended up fracturing 2 vertebrae, T5 and T6. They're called burst fractures, where it just shatters. He was taken care of quickly, so the Alpine Star crew got him off the track. They got him to the hospital. Believe it or not, he was in the operating room within 3 hours of that crash. So that's one of the key components with these type of injuries, and the number one determinant of how much of the tissue, how much of the nerves of the spine are salvaged. So he was in the OR within 3 hours. They were able to decompress that area, so relieve the compression on the spine. As you saw, he posted online some pictures. He has quite a bit of hardware in there to straighten out the spine. He fortunately was near a very major trauma center that handles these type of injuries all the time, so we had an expert surgeon in there who was on call. They got him in there, got that decompressed.
All right, yeah, this is the news that no one wants to hear. Like you said, it could have actually been worse, so that's good in some way. We'll see how the recovery goes. It's road2recovery.com for the site. We'll put it out there in every place we could. JT, we actually heard that in the Yamaha LCQ Privateer Challenge in Denver. Kyle Chisholm is going to race, and he'll donate whatever he wins right to Jerry. Chiz could win it. So we're really seeing riders putting their arms around Jerry in this situation. Thanks, Dr. Joe. We'll continue with the updates as it goes on. Thanks. Okay, we resume the 30-second board here. Seth Hammaker, this is one of the greatest individual short-time improvements I've ever seen from a rider. He's always been fast, but I would actually say I don't even know if he's ever been the fastest. And he's also been inconsistent. He's gotten faster and more consistent this year. And you see the points, JT. He's the only one with 2 wins. He now has sole possession of the red plate, and he's got another home state race. I can't believe it. Seth Hammaker might be the best of this group.
Yeah, and something clicked with Seth Hammaker because he's always been able to go fast. He's always been able to get good starts, but that's been mirrored by inconsistency, crashes, and you could argue maybe even being a little bit out of control at times. And to be fair, we haven't seen that this year. There was one incident in Detroit where he had food poisoning, and that's where your 17th comes in, but the rest of it has been pretty predictable. And there have been opportunities for him to throw it away. He could have pressed the envelope in Philadelphia when RJ Hampshire was in front of him. He did not do it. So I don't know if it's the presence of, Darren Lawrence or a change in training, Michael Byrne. There's a lot of things you could point to. Maybe it's just age and maturity, but this is a very different Seth Hammaker than we're used to.
We know what we're going to get from RJ Hampshire. He'll give you everything he has. He's dealing with a wrist injury. He says it doesn't matter. He won't feel the pain if he's in a title battle. What about Tom Viel? Still doesn't have the win. And Ian Harrison, his team manager, told me Saturday morning in New Jersey, you cannot consistent your way into this. He's going to have to beat Hammaker and Hampshire, and he still did not do it.
Yeah, it's hard to say that someone's back is up against the wall down 7 points, but I think reality says he is, because I don't believe that he can go into the finale in a showdown at a track he really struggled at last year and make up close to double-digit points on 2 riders. That's simply not going to happen. So this weekend is so pivotal for the setup for him going to the finale. If he can find a way to win in Pittsburgh, it completely changes the ask when we go to Utah. If it's the same thing, a solid race, another podium, but he goes down 10 or 9, I just don't think there's a way he's going to find himself as a 2-time champion in this class. So this weekend, it's easy to say that every weekend. They're so important, but this one, I think, this is for all the marbles.
And now that we've had enough East races to actually match up with the West, they've both run the same amount, it turns our attention to a different championship. Of course, the SMX World Championship at the end of the year. We can look at some very early playoff seeding here. This would be the battle to get in, the bubble battle to be in the top 20. Now, there's an entire summer of Pro Motocross coming, which will change this up, but just fun to look at right now. A guy like Max Voland, I think he's ridden very well. He's been luckless more than he hasn't been. He's only 17th. Dax Bennick, Max Anstey, they've been fast. They've had injuries. It's pretty alarming when you look at that list.
Yeah, this is going to be fun to watch, and this is going to change so much when you think about how many points are earned once we switch over to the Pro Motocross leg. 2 races, there's just so much change that's going to go on, but I think it is really important for riders to understand where they are, and then they start to schedule out which races they're going to be able to attend and what that possibly looks like. So nothing's decided, a lot of racing still to go. We have a whole second half of this championship before we get to Concord, North Carolina. But yes, it is something that riders are looking at that they never have before.
Yeah, and another thing to look at as the season starts to close, the St. Jude auction. So a lot of the gear and graphics that you saw custom at the Indianapolis round, which was the Love Moto Stop Cancer event, will now be up for grabs. You see some samples there. I mean, if you're getting autographs from some of the most popular riders in the sport right there, you want to collect that. So you'll see it on all of our social media, or just go to supercrosslive.com/St. Jude. It begins April 28th, and this is a chance to get some great stuff, and then all the money goes to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
Yeah, so many cool items. I actually saw 2 guitars that all the stars of the sport had signed when I was visiting the Race Day Live set in East Rutherford. But man, the range of items, it doesn't have to be a jersey, the prototypical signed helmet. There are a lot of external, not even a part of our sport, things that are donated to this that you can bid on. And I promise you, you're not going to find a better cause, right? Of course, we want to be a part of helping Road to Recovery and riders like Jerry Robin, but there are a lot of sick children also. So donate what you can. Be a part of these great causes across all fronts. There's never been a more compelling case for it feels better to give than receive than when you're a part of these foundations.
Yeah, you actually got to go to the St. Jude Hospital there in person. And I know you talk about it all the time, that you really learn a lot about perspective when you go there. So help out if you can. And the reward is some really cool memorabilia as well. From that, we move to our buddy, Braun Breaker, who you got to hang out with, WWE superstar in Philadelphia as he was preparing for WrestleMania over the weekend. So Braun was wrestling there. And then check out Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, with the dirt bikes in his ring intro.
Yeah, I mean, of course, this had to be from Braun Breaker's appearance in Philadelphia, right? They threw together this Cody Rhodes dirt bike appearance. And Weed, your guy, Stone Cold, he rode out on a quad also. I know you love quads. He came out on a quad. I think he crashed the quad also. So you love to see the crossover here. We're all a part of this Peacock family here. And I just love to see guys that are 3 times my size trying to ride dirt bikes or quads, it makes me chuckle, because if I had to go in a wrestling ring, they would just immediately throw me 3 rows deep. So to see them struggle gives me a little bit of a little peace inside that I can say, hey, they can't do what I can do.
And for a superstar like Cody Rhodes to say, you know what would look cool at the biggest race or the biggest event of the year? I'm going to tie it into motocross racing with a bunch of dirt bikes in my intro, and every fan, they cheered for that. They didn't say, what the heck is this? So there's a little respect for us there as well. Okay, it's time for SMX Facts. We bring on our staff statistician, Clinton Fowler. It was good to hang out there in New Jersey. And your statistics from earlier in the year that showed that Chase Sexton usually has a mid-season slump and then ends the year strong are proving true. And now he's doing it under pressure. He has to win these races. He is winning these races. What are you seeing in the data?
Yeah, Weege, and the end of the season is his strong point, and obviously winning the last 2 rounds, pretty huge. But man, I look at this season and it's eerily similar to 2023 when he won the championship. In 2023, he had a bunch of unforced errors early in the year. It cost him 35 points. This year, he's had a bunch of unforced errors early in the season. It only cost him 22, so not quite as bad. But in both seasons, it put him in the hole, JT. And now, here we are. He's down 9 points. He's got 3 rounds to go, and he needs to win it out. The big question is, can he do that? There's very few people that have won 3 to finish. But man, it sure looks like he's got the fire right now and the potential to win against Webb. What do you think?
I think he can, but executing that is going to be a very difficult thing, because we have this rider he's up against in Cooper Webb, who he's a closer, and he doesn't seem to really crack under pressure, and he seems to thrive when the challenge is the highest. So it's going to be a really difficult thing. Math is really not on his side as far as having to be perfect. He has to win every time if Webb is there every single time. Also, it's going to be a gauntlet he's going to have to work through to make this happen.
There's been so much talk about Pro Circuit, so close, so many times, somehow not getting titles. Maybe last year being the worst when McAdoo and Kitchen crashed into each other while leading the points in both divisions at a showdown. But lo and behold, the smoke is cleared. Seth Hammaker, talk about this.
For the Pro Circuit team, which has been a dominant powerhouse in the 250 class, they have not had a ton of championships in the last decade. They've only had 2. So if they're to win this, it'll be the first time in 5 years and 8 months. So JT, it seems like Seth Hammaker has the potential to quote unquote break the curse that the Pro Circuit team has experienced the last few years.
All right, this is as good a setup as you're going to find. Last year, you could have said the same thing, though. Levi Kitchen went into Salt Lake. Winner take all, basically, between those two. So the job's not getting any easier, but I think the important thing for the team is they're in position to fight for a championship. And you could look back a handful of years from that 2017 until last year where they simply have not been in real relevance for the championship. So I think they'll take this over that.
Yeah, and it's still been a year with far too much bad luck and injuries for the team. But credit to Hammaker, digging him out of the ditch. See if he can finish it off in these last 2 rounds. Clinton, thanks for the data.
Good to see you guys. Looking forward to this weekend.
Big interview time at the races, and we're with Jeremy Albrecht, who a lot of fans remember as factory mechanic and then eventually team manager with Kawasaki and then eventually Joe Gibbs Racing, but now full-time with the AMA. And what people probably don't realize, Jeremy, is even when JGR stopped the motocross operation, you still had a job there. So you've chosen to step back into this full-time.
Yes, it was pretty cool. JGR kept everybody that wanted to stay, so I was still working there, and then was coming here doing a different role for the AMA part-time. I was doing started out about 12 races. It turned into doing 20, so realized this is where I want to be. So in the end, when a real full-time position came up, I'm like, why would I not do this? This is obviously what I want to do. I'm doing it on my weekends off and taking vacation time to come do this. So yeah, here we are. I'm back.
So your role here, and again, you're our former mechanic, is on the technical rules enforcement for the motorcycles.
Yeah, that's new this year. Yeah, December, just started with the AMA, and now looking at more of the rules. We have steering committee with all the other OEMs and Feld and MX Sports on it, and talk about future rules and how to enforce them, and just trying to do more than we've ever done. And I have experts, old team members of mine that still come help me, a lot of JGR employees, still come help and enforce it. And I feel like nobody knows everything, so I like to use other experts in the field that I know. I know a lot of different people, so just trying to use people's knowledge and make the sport better.
Most people know that there's a production rule in the races in the AMA in the United States. Is that what the majority of what you're doing is, just enforcing that, or is there a whole lot of other stuff we don't even realize?
No, it's mainly that. We take bikes down so that in the past no one really knows. Like top 3, top 5, we can impound anybody we want. That's been messing people up this year because we pull some that aren't. They think we're messing up. We don't know who's on the podium. Why are you pulling me? I'm not on a podium. But anyway, we got that fixed.
Okay.
So we do pull them in. We do sound. We'll pull heads off. We'll do bore and stroke. We'll check swing arms. Lots of different things. Valve angle. We're just enforcing the rules that are already in the rule book.
Yes.
All the manufacturers give us parts that we compare them against. So we have the stock part versus the part they're running.
Yeah.
So that's basically what we're doing. Just checking what they're doing, weighing bikes. There's fuel, there's frames, there's transmissions, lots of things that we will be getting into.
Okay, you said that this all involves the teams and the steering committee. There's the potential that someone's going to fail. So are they for this or against this? Are they being resistant to what you're doing, or do they like it?
No, so far everybody likes it. I think when you have rules and you're checking them and their fault, people like rules, honestly. I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah.
They do like it. Everyone seems to like it better. We'll see if they all like it if something changes and they get caught. There's been little things, but nothing, no real bad penalties yet. So far so good.
Yeah, so you have checked, and the reason we don't hear anything is because so far, for the most part, everyone's passed these tests that you've put down.
Yeah, that's correct. And every week I do actually do a little report that I'm just sending just to Mike Pelletier currently. Yeah. And then as soon as we have the format right, kind of like we do now where we put out, because years ago we didn't even say what rider penalties before. Yeah. We'll do the same thing, like whatever we checked in tech, we will tell people so at least they know. So the privateers know that we are checking the top 3. What did they check? And if we did other randoms through the day, whatever, they'll know that as well. But we're getting the format right before we put it out, because once we put it out, we'll be stuck to doing that forever. So I'm just trying to get it right before we start doing that. But people will know what we check each week soon also.
So transparency, a big part of this too.
Yes.
We like that. So that's it. Familiar face back at the races, and he's been on both sides, so he knows how the game is played. Don't be surprised if the rules get better because of the experience that the AMA has hired for their staff.
Okay, SMX is off to Pittsburgh if you want to watch, switching back to the night show program. So Race Day Live takes place at 1:30 Eastern Saturday afternoon, and the gate will drop at 7 o'clock Eastern. There will be an NBC re-air of the show, by the way, at 1 Eastern on Sunday, continuing a string of races on NBC. So that's how you can watch Pittsburgh if you're not going to the stadium in person. Also want to give a shout out to the SMX Video Pass. That's international outside the United States. You can't watch on Peacock. There is a 7-day trial going right now for free. Jorge Prado was doing all sorts of media for the weekend, JT. He was on the Spanish broadcast. He was on the English language broadcast. But most importantly, he was impressed by my knowledge of suspension. So shout out to you, Jorge Prado. If you need any more help, I'm here for you, buddy. JT, it's pretty cool. All these things happening at once, especially that pro motocross and riders starting to get back to the gate.
It is awesome. I was so impressed by the call by Edgar Lopez and Tommy Rios that we got a sample of on NBC. That was really fun. Even if it was for a lap, I think it was a nice preview of what you can get over at supermotocross.tv.
And that's our preview for this weekend in Pittsburgh. 2 riders, 9 points, 3 rounds, and that's the considerably larger gap in the 450 class compared to the all-out action of 250 East. So don't miss Pittsburgh.